Hey, before we get started with the show, we want to let you guys know that this episode of the Comics Alternative is sponsored by Audible.com.
That's right. They have more than 180,000 audiobooks and spoken word audio products. They're the leading audiobook publishers, and you can choose such comics-related titles as Sean Howe's Marvel Comics, The Untold Story, and David Haydew's The 10-Cent Plague.
Get a free audiobook of your choice at www.audibletrial.com/comicsalternative. That's audibletrial.com/comicsalternative, and get started today. This is the Comics Alternative, on location at Collected Comics and Games in Plano, Texas. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Comics Alternative, on location at Collected Comics and Games in Plano, Texas. I'm here every month, just as the shop, which is located at 3100 Independence Parkway in Plano, Texas. They're on the corner of Independence and Parker. If you're in the area, or if you're not, and you're going to be in the area, then come on by. These guys know their comics. They have great customer service. They have a wonderful selection. Plus, they're really nice for letting me come in every month and talk on location with various customers who come by, who want to share, any thoughts, ideas, manifestos that they may have. And sometimes we have employees who talk with us as well. So this is the month of July, and originally I had thought that maybe as a topic of discussion we could discuss summer reading. Like, what are you reading this summer? What do you plan on reading? But we don't have to stick to that script, because I know that I have three people sitting at the table, and two of you told me when I got here a moment ago that you just recently got back from San Diego. So I'd very much like to hear your experiences there. So now we have Crystal, who has been here with us several times in the past, and then Craig, who is here most months.
Yep.
And I know I've spoken with you. Please forgive me for forgetting your name. Mike. Okay, so Mike, Craig, and Crystal. Now, Mike, you did not go to San Diego?
No, not cool enough.
So you and I are not cool enough. We're the odd guys out. Or I guess it's kind of even, since two of you went and two of us didn't. But I want to hear, and we can talk about summer reading, but I want to hear about Comic-Con. And Crystal, I know you're going to have to go in a few minutes, so why don't you share with the listeners your joys, your experiences?
Well, I'm broke now, but during the show, I honestly didn't feel like it was coming until maybe I took off all last week and yesterday as well. So I took off Monday through Tuesday, and it was 4th of July, so I had a pretty big break from work, which was nice. I started making my Savage Land Rogue costume last Monday, 2 days before I left to go to San Diego, which is really typical of me. If you follow any of my stuff online, it's Crystal Star, and it's Crystal Krystle, Star with 2 R's. And it's very typical of me to do my costumes last minute, and that's what I did. I actually sewed the wig myself. I had my girlfriend Rachel do the top and like kind of flap that she wears, but I made the shoes and the spear myself, which is really badass because...
and you say you went as...
Savage Land Rogue in the 80s, or I guess 89, 90s, carried on through the 90s, yeah. She fought dinosaurs and stuff. It was pretty epic. I mean, that's pretty awesome.
I really liked it, but I'm a huge X-Men fan, so
Yeah.
Cool costume. That was really awesome.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, I actually got a lot of notoriety for the costume. It was one of 7 that I took. I only had time to wear 4.
So in addition to that one, which ones did you wear?
What did I wear? I wore Kung Fury. Really, really excited about that one. That was probably the highlight of my Comic-Con San Diego, was going to the Kung Fury panel and meeting all of them. And their comic book artist. Or they're having a comic book. Let's totally talk about that. Kung Fury is getting a comic book. Woo! Everybody go pick it up. Seriously. It's not done yet, but when it's done, we will talk about that some more. Henry, my friend, found me on Instagram a while ago and was like, hey, I need a place to stay in Comic-Con. And I was like, oh my god, you're going to be the artist for Kung Fury. You can stay with Craig. So he's also at the table. So I offered up Craig's assistant. Craig was more than happy to oblige. Henry got really drunk and wound up not staying with us. We love you, Henry, if you're listening. Just events at Comic-Con.
So he didn't stay with Craig because he was drunk,
Yeah.
or those two things aren't necessarily
No,
connected?
they're completely connected.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much,
So he
yes.
got drunk and couldn't find his way to Craig's.
Pretty much, yes. We were with him, and we were like, you want to come? And he told Craig, no, I'm going to stay. I don't know. Well, I don't know who's listening, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was a
It's
crazy
a weird
night.
story.
It was
We
a
can talk
crazy
about that one later.
Comic-Con nights, just, they get lost. So, anyways, Craig and I almost got arrested. That was pretty cool. We have pictures of that. We got out of that. That was pretty exciting and epic. We won't go into detail there, but we do have photos if you want to find them on our
What
Facebook
happens at
page.
Comic-Con stays at Comic-Con.
Stays at Comic-Con.
Okay.
But the pictures aren't online. So I did Kung Fury, which was awesome. There were so many Kung Fury cosplays at San Diego that nerdninja.com is the website that I currently own and operate with Adam. And there were so many Kung Fury cosplays that we took a whole gallery, photo gallery of them, and we're actually giving the winners pretty cool, some limited edition Kung Fury stuff. So that's gonna be cool. So if you want to check that out, that's really cool. I also dressed up as Psylocke to pay homage to the new Psylocke with Olivia Munn, which I got to meet at Comic-Con, which was awesome. So she was on the Conan show. I did the Conan show, and it was better than waiting in line for any of the panels. The Hall H line was absolutely hell. In fact, we have shirts that say, what is it, Hall H, Heaven or Hell, Burn or Die?
Yeah,
What is it?
burn or die.
Burn or
First
die?
in line or last in line.
Yeah, first in line or last in life. That's what it should say.
Hall H. Oh my god.
Real quick, let's talk about the Hall H. So the Star Wars panel. Star Wars is coming out with a new movie. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. If you guys don't know, but you should. Everyone should have some kind of Star Wars in their heart. But that line was anywhere from 15 to 22 hours long for Comic-Con, just for the panel. And I was like, oh, hell no. I'm not going to waste a whole day in San Diego just to see, Carrie Fisher look like an ant on stage. So I opted not to do that, and I kind of regret it, but kind of not. So the panel came on. Those of you who are watching at home and watching really close to you, you've already seen the kiss between Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford, and it was epic. And anyway, so my friend texts me when we're done, right? And Craig and I are actually supposed to meet up for dinner at this time. And so I'm like, Craig, where you at? And then my friend's like, oh my god, J.J. Abrams came out and he told us I know you've been waiting in line, but we've got a huge surprise for you. If you guys could wait, just give us 2 to 3 more hours of your time. We have something epic planned for you. We're going to give you guys all commemorative badges, and you're going to walk single-filedly down this I guess it was half a mile walk. It was very long ways from not long, but kind of long. It was a walk. And so I guess there was 2,000 or 3,000, maybe 2,000 people for the Star Wars panel, all walking in this quiet, creepy line, and everyone at Comic-Con's taking pictures of them, what's going on. It's this line led by J.J. Abrams himself, and he takes them to through this dock to this little island, and they have this huge concert pavilion set up, and all of these people that went to the Star Wars panel got to go to the Star Wars concert, and everyone got lightsabers, and they had they all played the original music with clips from the original movies, with clips from the new movies that are no one else in the world has seen. And this stuff wasn't even filmed at the panel. A lot of the panel stuff was already online, but some of the stuff at the concert has not been posted online, which is really cool. And then at the end, they had a Disney-sponsored fireworks show. So Craig, I guess Craig met us up at the room, and from our balcony, we could hear the entire concert, see images from, like, little tiny images from the screen from our balcony, and then we got to experience the gorgeous fireworks show. If you guys have ever been to Disney, it was sponsored by Disney, so it's just absolutely, out of this world fireworks.
Explosions everywhere.
Yes, and the whole San Diego just stops, and just looks at these lights. I think Craig said he could see some of it reflecting off the building.
That was funny because I was just walking out the door of the convention center right when the explosions happened.
And it sounded like a crazy
crap out of me.
It was we were in the room, and my friend had texted me, and so I was like, oh, cool, but then we heard the boom, and we're like, oh my God. So everyone was screaming and yelling, and they had like this loud Star Wars music playing for like most people to hear, and it was just, I cried. I'm not going to lie. I cried like a little baby. Because I'm gonna cry now. I'm not. Okay. Let's talk about something else. So, costumes.
Wow. Okay, I have to say, I'm exhausted just from listening to you, and that's
an hour's worth of my con.
Yeah, geez. Can you imagine what it would have been like if I had been there?
We woke up every morning.
Exhausting.
Yeah, every morning at 4:30 to 5 a.m., and we didn't go to sleep until about 1 a.m. every day.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
So it
Crazy
was
people.
Yeah, I was running on coffee. I actually started getting vertigo towards the end of the show. I would drink coffee, and then like the elevator right up to our 24th floor, and then the carpet on the crazy hotel carpet. I would just I literally had to brace myself.
Now, was this the first time that either of you had been to San Diego?
Been a lot.
No, I've been once in 2008. So this is my first time since 2008 that I've been there.
Well, I'm curious how, because we keep hearing, or I keep hearing every year, that it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger to the point of almost ridiculousness. Yeah, and I've heard a lot of people say, okay, I'm not going to go just because of as big as it's become. Compared to 2008, what are some of the significant differences that you've noticed?
It's amazing how much it's gotten way bigger. That now that it's basically expanded outside of the convention center and has taken up pretty much all the way around it.
Yeah, it's not just the convention that has panels anymore.
No.
Like the Children's Hospital has panels. I would say there are like 10 to 20.
There's like a whole bunch of hotels around it that have different panels and then different stuff. Like one hotel was just nothing. If you're into like Magic the Gathering or Dungeons and Dragons or different games like that, tabletop game. They had a hotel that its whole purpose was to do nothing but games.
And our hotel had the Nintendo set, so we had all the Nintendo games, all the Wii games, and it was
That's what's kind of interesting with Comic-Con. It seems like less and less about comics and more about
well, that's how most shows are. In the last, I've been covering shows for 8 years now. And when I first originally started going, it was, huge comics. And then, they would have, the actors and stuff. And the actors wouldn't have lines like they do today whatsoever. Like, wait to meet William Shatner or Doc from, what's his name? Christopher Lloyd. You would wait in line for 30, 40 minutes, and they'd be like, oh, God, it's taking forever. And now it's like, that's your day. And especially at Comic-Con, in order to meet these people, it's ridiculous.
You basically plan your whole day to be
and you have
in
to
line.
know people to go to Comic-Con. Before I went to Comic-Con, I actually did no planning this year just because I just simply had no time. But luckily, I'm really well connected with a lot of people who do that stuff. So a lot of the guys from Adult Swim, like Seth and Matt, contacted me through Instagram and personally invited us to some of their after parties and stuff. And
so, Craig, did you piggyback on top of her connections?
I did.
Oh, and I
did.
We use each other for sure.
Oh yeah.
So hold on.
She was cool enough to get me into the Kung Fury after party. So
did you guys travel together?
No.
Nope.
So you just met there? I mean, you knew.
I knew that she was going,
okay.
But we were traveled separately.
Oh, okay.
And
part
separate
of the
hotels.
comic family. So.
Yeah. See, I find this absolutely fascinating because I know what, let's say, Wizard World cons.
Oh, I'm going to be a guest there. Hey.
And also what, say, the Dallas cons are like in that they're primarily entertainment other than comics. I mean, there's a large comic presence, but not near. It's really eclipsed by TV, film, and things of that sort.
Same here.
But so this is ramped up. This is like that on
super steroids,
super and crack.
Yes.
So
well, it's
steroids and crack.
It's not even comparable.
Right. But it's very different from, let's say, from what I experienced last month. I went to Heroes Con, and a very, very big con, but it's none of the TV, none of the film.
So
it's all either dealers, merchants, and artists, and that's it.
And that's how Capital City Con last year, that's how they were too. And I thought it would be amazing, but they didn't do the right advertisement.
So if people complained about being in line, it was being in line for maybe just an hour or two, and it was for creators, certain creators, like, let's say, Jason Aaron or Matt Fraction, people like that.
The big
right.
names.
So it's none of the bells and whistles, and much more containable. So I couldn't imagine. I want to go to Comic-Con in San Diego once before I die, just to say I experienced it.
Highly recommend it.
Yeah,
highly recommend it.
It's worth it.
It's
worth the $5,000.
And as you asked about what was different from 2008 to now, the biggest thing was like Artist Alley has been pushed down to almost nothing.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, and they throw it in the back to where...
Yeah,
I honestly, to be very honest, I did not even go. Mainly because I was thinking to myself, I've probably met a lot of these guys at other shows, but that's me personally. I know I actually ran into Ben Stevens, the owner of Dallas Comic Con, or the old owner of Dallas Comic Con. I guess he still owns the.
He still runs it anyways.
Yeah, he does. He's a shadow, but. I ran into him at breakfast because we had this like elite breakfast thing that like in this like hidden spot, and I was like, "Hey Ben, what's up?" And he actually told me that he goes to buy art. So, and Ben is a very rare, amazing human being who is a huge fan of the art. So you do have people who still go just for the art, which is fabulous. But I mean, there's just it's really overwhelming. I didn't do an eighth of like what I wanted to do at Comic-Con.
I'd be honest with that is that you can't. I mean, you only got there's so much to do, but you can only do so much in a day.
And that's what we got.
You did get to Craig. You were saying you didn't, Crystal, but you did get to Artist Alley.
I did.
So who all was there? Who did you see?
So. God, now I'm terrible with names, so forgive me.
Okay, what did you have signed?
I did get the guy that did. If you're really old like me and you remember a comic book called Grips, or he was there, so I was really excited to see him. He's done some Marvel work for like Wolverine and stuff like that. There were some other guys that were there, but it wasn't really any of the big artists that you usually see in Artist Alley, because most of those guys
they're on the other side, like Neil Adams and all the Aspen, like the Lady Did
and like the Marvel booth.
They're in their own big booths.
So if you're looking for like the Marvel guys, but like you talk a lot about First Second. I mean, all their artists and writers were inside their booth.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Marvel and DC. All of the guys that are committed to Marvel and DC, they're inside their booth signing.
I got you a signing ticket that sadly we couldn't use.
No.
But, I got Craig a pretty cool.
So a lot of the big time artists, they're already committed to the booths that they work for, and it's the independent artists that are pretty much only in the Artist Alley, and they keep getting smaller and smaller.
And the booths keep getting more expensive and more expensive every year.
Yeah.
And it's not worth it for the smaller artists. It's really sad. I mean, a lot of those guys they take a huge hit for getting those tables every year. Because I think those tables are worth like $2,500 or $3,500 for a table half the size of the one that we're currently using right now.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So it's zero place to display, and you're kind of herded like cattle, like and the means of how you like chicken coops. It's just little chicken coops.
Wow. So when we were
that was my only depressing part about
it. Is very depressing.
That was the Artist Alley. That would be my only depressing. Everything else was amazing.
Well, it's just amazing how much a table is there, because when we were at HeroesCon, actually the podcast got a table there, and it was this size, and I think we paid $350 for space in Artist Alley,
and it was good. That's pretty typical for most cons.
Yeah. So, but yeah, this is San Diego's in a league on its own.
Oh yeah,
it is. It 100% is.
The con, and everybody knows anyone is going to be there. That's where all the movies, all the television shows, they're going out to promote to all the, get my bad words, but nerds, and they all know it, and so they're willing to pay to make certain that they're part of there, because sometimes those guys come meet them.
And that's what you're paying for. You're not paying. If you're getting a booth at Comic-Con, I hope that you know that you won't be. You may make a lot of money. Yeah. I'm not saying that you won't. I'm saying that be prepared to lose money on these shows because you're paying to a lot of my friends who are artists who got tables there this year or in the past. Know that they're not going to break even. They know that they're going to take a loss, but they also get to go in early and they get to meet a lot of these people and they get to show a lot of their work they get opportunities that they would in no other way be able to do. And that's what Comic-Con is all about. It is not about the comics. It's almost to the point where it's not even about the movies. It's about all being shoved into a tiny little fishbowl and being able to go up to other people, and it's opportunities. That's what Comic-Con is. So if you are an opportunist like myself and some other people, that's what Comic-Con is about. When the main reason I went to Comic-Con was for the Kong Fury panel, and I did exactly what I wanted to do there. So after Friday night, I was pretty much done. I didn't care what we did. That's why we didn't go hardcore Saturday night because I had felt like I had already done what I needed to do. Which Nerd Ninja, the company that I run, we were the main photographers for the after party, and we got to meet all the actors. They signed my posters. We got to know them quite personally, and now I've invited them down to Dallas, and I'm hoping that they'll come. So, to me, I did it. I'm good.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you now, Mike. You've been silent for no other reason because you didn't go to San Diego.
Very true.
I have to speak up because this is my podcast. So now, are you one who follows the news activity coming out of San Diego as it's going on?
Yeah, whatever pops up, kind of, on social media or like YouTube and things like that, I'll look at. Or things that I'm interested. I don't follow 100% of it.
Okay, so if it comes to you, fine, but you don't seek out that information.
Yeah, I like to be surprised on things, like when it gets closer and closer to a movie being released, I'll try and...
I guess the same way, if the information seeks, maybe I should be a little more in the know. But we're on the email list of, or at least with comics, a lot of publishers, and so things that are announced, we get emails about that, like right before or right after it happens. And so I could find out that way, but that's information that comes to me. So there's some of the stuff that was announced at San Diego that I know about. The vast majority I probably don't.
And this year was not as good as other years because in the past years I have definitely followed. Like I'm one of those people that, like, especially last year I think I was actually working here in the shop, and Freddie and I, we would be like obsessively like streaming it, like what they are now. Like if you look behind you, there's a TV that's streaming Comic-Con stuff that's already almost a couple days old. Look, it's Adam. But honestly, I was that person last year who was very obsessed, and they just had so many more cool announcements last year, I felt. And like the Marvel presence there this year was really a huge letdown, especially since I brought a whole Marvel line of cosplays to...
What was the letdown part?
So DC's booth was gorgeous in so many ways. DC...
Well, they had those two big trailers.
Right, right.
Now, I did see those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which were nice.
They have to have that present. They're getting crushed by Marvel,
Yeah,
last year,
they knew that this was good.
Last year they got crushed, and this year Marvel even announced before the show, like, "Hey, we did our huge announcement last year, so this year we're gonna kind of crap on you, San Diego." And I was like, "What?"
Was their words exactly? They're like, "We're gonna crap on you, San Diego."
I think those were. I think
there was like an Anchorman thing. They're like, "Go fuck yourself, San Diego."
Go fuck yourself, yeah. So
so the only thing they had there was literally Ant-Man, and that was the only thing they're promoting. But they didn't.
I'm sure that got a lot of people excited.
Well, that makes sense. The president says they want a tiny presence like Ant-Man. They're pushing the movie,
right? But they didn't have they didn't even have an Ant-Man panel or anything like that. It was just they had the suit for Ant-Man. And that was their whole booth, basically.
They did have that. They did have like a few little pop-ups here and there, like the Avengers with the giant.
That's true. They did have that. Yes.
Iron Man, the new suit for Iron Man. They did have that, which is really epic. But I wish they had kind of put that next to their booth.
Because that was over by the Hasbro booth, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes, it was. And so, DC had I think they had 10 or 12 outfits from different movies.
And their TV shows, because they had the representatives from Flash and Arrow.
Oh, we got to meet Ben Affleck and the dude who plays Superman. That was kind of cool.
Yeah. And then they had Batman versus Superman stuff there, too. And they obviously knew that Marvel was taking nothing there. Step back, and they had to bring it.
I did not like their carpet. If anyone from DC is listening, don't do that carpet again.
Right now
cool.
That's kind of the only thing is Ant-Man. When you look at DC right now, they have Suicide Squad, they've got Batman vs Superman.
Well, they could have done like Daredevil.
Movies.
They could have done all their Netflix accounts. I mean, they could have done.
They're probably filming right
They could have done a Requiem for Constantine, because that show's not coming back.
Yes, I wish they did that
on
actually.
NBC,
It's like, again, I just want to keep reminding Fox, stop canceling your shows just as they get interesting.
Well, that wasn't Fox. That was NBC.
Oh, is that NBC? Sorry.
Yeah.
NBC, stop canceling your shows just as they get interesting.
Yeah. That's because NBC's never been cool.
Yes.
Hey, there was the 90s and just must-see TV.
Kind of a cool thing that happened.
But they did, Marvel did bring, their TV series, which Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter, but they didn't bring any of their Netflix shows, which I thought was disappointing.
Yeah, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter or whatever, that's like, for me, it's like, wah, wah. Like, I don't really care about that.
Right, it's like you could have shown, I know that Daredevil's filming, so there's not much to let's do that, but you still had the other ones that are coming out, like Power Man and Iron Fist. And,
the X-Men movies.
Which, by the way, since you were gone, I didn't have you to talk to, Craig. I watched all of Daredevil season 1. It was incredible.
Yes.
Yes. You're late.
Awesome.
I don't think I'm past the 4th episode.
Shame.
It's
Shame.
awesome.
Ding, ding, ding. Shame. Oh my God, I got shame.
There's different strokes for different folks.
Yes. Okay.
I mean, I like it. It's just I haven't taken the time to.
Oh, that's what. See, leave right now. Go watch it. Come back.
Yeah, I have my whole.
Okay, I'm going to put the show on hold.
Okay, for talking for 1 second, talking about shame. You guys watch Game of Thrones, the Shame Lady?
Yeah.
Okay, so I saw somebody dressed up as the Shame Lady, and I think I was wearing like either Rogue or Psylocke, and I think it was Rogue because it was like really revealing. And she walked up to me and she was like, she shamed me. She like did a circle around me and rang the bell and shamed me and like had everybody look at me, and I was just like, I thought you were cool, but now I hate you.
That's actually pretty awesome.
Yeah, I know. And then I realized that she was actually a cool lady, not just like some bastard.
Great.
So.
That the whole set, they actually had a couple of people do all that, and one of them brought out like a blow up sex doll and had a stick, and they were just yelling shame at it.
It was a pretty fun show.
Naked. It was amazing.
Oh, and Nerd Ninja's also doing the best T-shirts at Comic-Con. So if y'all want to go vote, you should, and you should vote for my favorite one. This, like, he wasn't a skinny guy, he wasn't a fat guy, he was like a big, strong guy, and he had a shirt that said, "I shaved my balls for Comic-Con," and I was like, I think you win.
Why would that win?
Because
that has nothing to do with anything besides a dude shaving his balls.
I think he was ready, but I think he was ready for whatever was going to happen at Comic-Con.
That should win.
No, it's not the same. It's not the same.
Like,
he does have the best picture.
I think if it was something like I did a high risk, high reward maneuver, like running across 4 lanes of traffic to get to Comic-Con, that makes a little more sense. But shaving your balls for Comic-Con, unless you're going around showing it and letting the shame lady shame you, I don't see what it has to do with anything.
Why not? Why not?
Maybe he did. We just didn't catch that.
Dude, I hadn't laughed. I think that was the hardest I laughed the whole show.
Did his balls cosplay? That's what, Was it Lex Luthor or like Brainiac or something?
Did you see Ant-Man's balls on Conan?
He could have been that guy.
Hilarious. Y'all should check it out. Oh, so I saw Conan, and they actually only gave those Pop Funkos. They had the Conan Pop Funkos like plastered everywhere. Like everywhere you looked, what is it, ABC or NBC? TBS?
TBS.
Sorry. TBS. So when I got to the airport, they had like the whole, like where your luggage comes out, the luggage racks are like the thing that spins around. All that was done like in Conan wrap. They had those 4 pop vinyls like everywhere, and on the hotel we were staying at, it was an entire building wrapped in that. The subways had it, the buses, they had a huge presence there, and just everywhere you looked you saw those Conan pops, and everybody was wanting them. Well, you could only get them if you went to the show, and I actually have the Batman one, the zombie one, and the monster one, so I have 3 out of the 4 Conan pops, so that was pretty epic. I'm gonna brag on that, because that was like, those things were selling for like $275 at the show.
Did you see his like Conan 360 thing that they did on YouTube for like Comic-Con? So if you go to YouTube and you watch some of them, they're specifically marked like Conan 360, and it uses the accelerometer on your phone. So when I first started watching the video, I was laying on my stomach, and it's like a logo on the ground. I could hear people talking. I was like, is the video frozen? And I kind of picked up the phone, and the camera moved with it up.
Oh, cool.
So like you can like sit there and spin around in your room and like look like a maniac looking around the stage and stuff at the people and everything. It's pretty cool.
That's wicked. I did see someone filming with one of those. I didn't realize. I guess I don't know if he was with Conan. He had one of those cameras too. It was like a camera with a bunch of little cameras on it.
Yeah, but it's just kind of neat that they did that. But at the same time, like you're watching it and you're on like the sideline. I'm like, I'm not watching the video to watch from the sideline and look around. I want to see what's going on, and that's what you miss out on a bunch of it.
That's cool. That's very cool.
But the technology is cool. That's the whole point.
That's very, very cool. And the Adult Swim had an entire carnival. It was a free carnival for Adult Swim. They also had free rides, these cars like in cool wraps. And my friend told me about it, so I saw one. I just like jumped in, and she was like, "Where do you want to take it?" And I was like, "I don't care. Just go somewhere. It's free." So she took us to the carnival, and we got really cool T-shirts. Everything was free. And you get to play all these games, and I'm a master at certain games apparently, and I won a ton of tickets, and I got like Comic-Con exclusive Mike Tyson astronaut dolls. They're really cool from the Mike Tyson
Mysteries.
Yeah,
he's got
Mike
a
Tyson
cartoon
Mysteries.
show on Adult Swim now.
Mike Tyson does?
Yeah, it's like Scooby-Doo, but with Mike Tyson. So
Wow, it's been a
hilarious.
long time since I've seen Adult Swim.
Yeah,
just
same here,
replace
actually.
Scooby-Doo with Mike Tyson, and you got the show.
Yeah.
I think the last time I saw it, some of the biggest shows were, of course, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and I think they're still on, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's Matt, the meat one.
Squidbillies.
Yeah, Super Jail was on there.
Yeah, so I haven't
some weird
watched
stuff.
it probably in about
You
a
gotta do
couple
some
of years.
shrooms or something. I don't do that.
That's
so
some stuff that only makes sense at 2 o'clock in the morning, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about those.
Yes.
But yeah, so.
That's,
But yeah.
I don't know.
Cricket.
Well, I mean,
I don't know how to
okay,
follow that
I'm
up.
trying to backtrack on where the conversation kind of took a dip. And I think the peak was shaving balls for Comic-Con. Then that led, for some weird reason, to Conan.
That makes sense.
And
it looks like
Because of the
then,
Ant-Man.
and then it petered out, so to speak.
Yeah.
Petered out.
Peter. There's a lot of wiener jokes going on.
Yeah.
I had a dream about cake last night. I can only remember pieces of it.
Dun-dun-dun.
Okay, that's it. Thanks for everyone listening to this episode of the Comics Alternative on Location. Okay, well, I mean, this is exhausting. You guys
it's-
experienced a lot of stuff.
No, it's
I get exhausted listening to Crystal.
Yeah,
That's like a run-on
I think,
sentence over there.
Crystal, you've had enough caffeine.
I actually did have coffee. Oh my god, I had coffee at Comic-Con. I don't drink coffee normally, and I got like
I
get
wouldn't
high
know
off
it.
of coffee, as you can probably tell if you're listening. And yeah, my first day at Comic-Con, I was like, whoa! It was crazy.
You are a woo girl.
Woo!
I solved a puzzle. Woo!
So, is anybody? Does anyone care about the? One big bit of news that came out of Comic-Con: the winners of the Eisner Awards.
Oh my god, yeah. I actually brought a dress, so I thought I was going to go, but I got tired and couldn't walk.
that was yeah.
Well, hold on. What does the dress have to do with the winners of the Eisner Awards?
Because
I was
they're
gonna
probably
wear
the
it there.
banquet.
Oh, you were going to wear it to the... Okay, because I missed
and
the
right after the
going
Eisners,
to
there's an after party
Okay.
after there that.
Yeah. A lot of
And then
celebrities
pretty
go
much
to.
anybody that's at the Eisners gets invited to go to the party. And
it's
it's-
But you guys didn't go?
I couldn't walk.
I was
I couldn't walk.
exhausted.
We were
I
invited,
was-
but I couldn't walk.
Yeah, that is something I missed too. So why don't you break down the winners for us, and then we'll just judge it after that.
I didn't write that down with me. I can't remember. I remember some of them.
but,
I did bring some writing with me, but this has to do with what I thought
That
the
was-
topic of the
that was
on
one of my
location
things
show would
about
be
the Eisner Awards was, why didn't they? I thought it could have been earlier than when it was.
When was it?
'Cause it was what, Saturday night?
No, Friday night.
I thought it was
Friday
Friday
night. Yeah, it was Friday night, and Friday night was exhausting already. And
Well, how late did they get started?
I don't know.
I don't know. That was the thing was that was the same night as the Kung Fury.
Yeah.
So we stayed there way too late. Like late.
Well, one
We
of
were
the
partying
things.
with Triceratops, man.
Well, one of the things about the awards, and don't quiz me on the specifics, but a lot of people were saying that this year there were more mainstream, particularly superhero titles and creators nominated than there had been in the past.
Was that not?
Not really many, if any, wins.
I was going to say,
So-
yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't
I
expect
don't-
that,
yeah.
That's like, I think of it the same way as movies, You're not going to see a whole lot of superhero movies be nominated for Oscars. maybe one-offs like Batman.
Well, Hawkeye won last year for the best single issue, I believe, the Pizza Dog issue.
They did. Was that for Matt Fraction's on it? Yeah.
So it's not unheard of. It's just when these were announced back in, I think, April, people were going, "Oh, wow, more mainstream superhero nominations than we've had in the past," but that didn't pan out to much of anything, I guess.
No,
that shows they're trying.
I mean, I think that's a good thing, though, that the superhero titles are trying to be as good as some of the independent stuff that's out there. And
what was it, Sex Criminals? Didn't they win last year? Who won?
Well, it's a lot like TV, when you look at a lot of television shows now are becoming a lot more well-written and well-rounded. When you have things like The Walking Dead being like one of the most popular shows, and I hear a lot of people say they don't like it after a certain season because it's the same thing over and over. And it's a show about survival. Yeah, you're going to be doing a lot of the same thing, rummaging for supplies, but that's not really why you watch it. You don't really watch it for like a plot, like a huge giant plot that keeps changing, but you watch it more for like the character development and who these people become, because there's some characters that are completely different from season 1 to the season that you're on now.
I agree. So,
and that's what makes the show interesting, not necessarily the plot, but the character.
Yeah,
I agree with that. I can agree with that.
So real quick, who won last year? Wasn't it Sex Criminals?
Well, I mean, they give out a lot of awards. What do you mean, who won?
It wasn't Sex Criminals. It was Sexy Criminals. That's who won.
No, I can't. Either last year or maybe the year before. I can't remember. But Sex Criminals, I know it was nominated. Now I can't remember if they won. We'll have to have our crack research team look this up.
We failed.
Someone who's been our crack research team in the past on these on location shows? Who breaks out his device?
Craig.
No, it wasn't Craig. I think
it was somebody else.
Nick.
We're gonna bust out Google right now.
Yeah.
What we're gonna do? Hang on.
Do it.
I gotta ask Papa Google.
But I mean, it was an experience. So if you haven't gone, I would highly recommend.
So when did you guys get back?
I got back Monday.
Yeah.
Monday.
Sunday night at like midnight.
Hey, I got back Monday night around the same time because I had wonderful airplane travel time.
Oh God, I heard. But that's what I'm gonna do next year. Next year I'm taking off Monday through Monday because there's no way you want to leave on Sunday. It is disgusting.
That's why I wanted to wait that extra day.
Yeah, that extra day really helps.
So be the guy that busted out his phone and looked this up. So best continuing series for I guess 2015 was Saga.
Right.
Yeah.
Best new series was Lumberjanes. Limited series was Little Nemo, Return to Slumberland.
Awesome.
Best single issue one shot was Beasts of Burden, Hunters and Gatherers. Best writer was Gene Luen Yang. Is that how you say his name?
Gene Luen Yang, yeah.
Yeah, for Avatar, for Dark Horse, I suppose.
For Avatar and Shadow.
Yeah.
I was going to say, hopefully it's for Shadow Turtle. I really like that one.
Hero, yeah.
Best artist was Fiona Staples in Saga.
I knew that. Okay, I knew it was Fiona Staples.
And then Comic Industry Awards. I mean, how much further do you want to go into this?
I didn't necessarily want to get into a discussion of the awards. And that's something we're going to do, I believe, on next week's episode. Andy and I are going to talk briefly about our thoughts of the awards. But I was just curious if either of you went to the awards.
No, unfortunately I didn't.
So close, yet so far away.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say Saga for the win.
Yeah.
Well, Saga's gotten a lot of love over the past few years.
I quote
last year, the year before.
Well,
I have to say,
I don't know if
Saga is
we're allowed
like
to talk about this or not, but the Valkyries, the women's comic book industry group, I mean, if you don't read that, they shun you hard. So, I mean, that's one that they push for.
The Saga?
Yeah.
I mean, Saga's really good.
You said, I don't know if I should mention this. Why should we mention it? Is it a secret?
I would never.
Are you going to be tossed out of some organization?
I would never say this to her face, but she's a wonderful person and a great artist. Why would you never say it to her face?
No, not to her face. I just don't know. Never mind. Stop talking. Go ahead. Move on.
Anyways, I was going to say, Saga's one of those books, though, that like I think about in like my life not reading it. You know, it's one of those books I go back to in my mind, and I've actually quoted it, too.
You miss the giant nuts, don't you?
Yeah, the giant Cyclops nuts. But I've actually quoted some of the lines from it in like daily life, you know. Even at like work, I have somebody I'm training underneath me, and he's kind of like, oh, I'm nervous to do this. And I said, you know, sometimes you have to be brave before you can be good. And that's actually a line from Saga. You know?
So you memorize lines from Saga?
Just certain ones that, like, ring out to me.
Shakespearean.
Wow.
Saga.
In your face.
Well, actually,
that's how cool I am.
Bringing up Saga may be a good segue into the topic of summer reading. Mm-hmm. Because Saga is one of those titles that if one is not familiar with it, that could be a summer reading project. Because there's, that would occupy a good chunk
I would
of your
agree
summer.
with that one. And it's a good book. I would suggest that one as a summer reading project. Because you can go out and get the trades for that one and occupy a good travel time. If
So
you're going
we're
anywhere.
up to what number issue right now?
It's in the 20s or 30s now.
Yes, that's it.
I typically only read it in trade. I can't go single issue on that one. I have to wait till it is in a book, and then I just splurge and read the whole thing. Usually,
That's why I recommend most people when they talk about sagas go get the trades, because that way you can get whole story arcs.
Oh yeah.
No, broken phone.
Get whole story arcs right at that time, and that way you don't have to do it like I do when I get single issues and go, oh, when's the next one come out?
It's never enough. It's never enough. That would be a good one for summer reading. I highly recommend Saga. I actually plan on reading Infinity War. I bought that from here.
Oh, nice.
The trade of it that's like gigantic.
Yes.
That's been on my list for a while.
I like that one. That was a fun book.
Yeah.
Okay, Crystal is packing up. She has to go. So thank you for sharing your experiences at Comic-Con.
Indeed.
Lay off the caffeine.
Right? All right, I'm going to 90s night. Bye.
90s night.
Alamo Draft House 90s
You
night.
gonna go watch the X-Men cartoon?
Is that what they're showing?
I don't know.
I was going to say, like, we all have to go then.
I gotta go.
We're going to bring the podcast to the X-Men cartoon show. And
Well, now that she is vacating her microphone, you guys don't have to share one now. So, for those listening at home and who cannot see what's going on, we're playing musical chairs.
This microphone shaved its balls for this podcast.
Okay, I sense a subtitle for this episode. Shaved balls.
It's a thing.
It's usually something about genitalia or like what was it, like ass in a kid's face or something? The last time I was on.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she did say that. In fact, that was the subtitle of that episode. Get your ass out of my kid's face. Something like that. Okay, so we were talking about summer reading. Saga would have been one of those.
Yeah.
Do you guys... Well, let me ask this. Do you, either with comics or otherwise, consciously put aside certain titles, certain books, specifically to read during the summer?
Not necessarily like in the summer, but what I do like I got my stack of comics over here for Wednesday. Usually when I go home and I'm going to read them, I put them in an order in titles that I think are going to disappoint me up front and titles that I think are going to be good towards the back. So even if that one that's a disappointment, hey, I got a whole stack to go through. So
but you would do this normally throughout the year, right? Okay, so in terms of reading patterns, no big difference with you, Mike, with summer, winter, doesn't matter.
Yeah, for me, like, when you're a kid and you have the summer off, summer's a big deal, but when you're an adult and you're working, you're like, what is summer? Like,
Well, it could be vacation. I didn't go this year, but in the past when I have gone down with my family to the beach, that's big, chill out, relaxing time for me. And so what I usually do is will take certain titles with me that a way for me to catch up on a lot of things. And sometimes I'll pick certain titles or even certain genres to really focus on, really delve into. Like, for instance, a few years ago, I took a lot of Batman trades that I'd just not read in a long time. And so that summer at the beach, for me that week, was Batman filled.
I'll say this, I was at Comic-Con, so I had a lot of plane travel to do. And my reading, I don't save arcs up for summer. I just read what I want to read. But I would say that I got really excited about, Secret Wars. They got, one of the books is Inferno. And it got me really nostalgic for the original Inferno back in the 1990s. And so I just grabbed up the trade for Inferno so I could read it on the airplane, just to remind, wow, this was a fun book to read again and remember stuff like that. And that's kind of how I'll do for summer readings. Like you mentioned Batman, I'll read old Batman that I haven't read in a really, really long time and stuff like that. That it's more nostalgic maybe, and not necessarily I haven't saved them up. I've read them before, but I haven't read them in so long that they're still kind of new.
Everything's better with Batman.
It usually is.
It's like things go better with Coke.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everything's better with Batman. Or deep frying anything. You can deep fry anything, makes it good.
Yeah.
You could probably deep fry Batman, it'd be amazing.
I'm really excited. So
Deep fried Batman.
that would just be over the top.
They're going to have that next year at the State Fair. No.
Yeah, because of the Texas State Fair, they basically deep fry almost
everything.
anything. Yeah.
So they're going to take Hush and they're going to cut it up into little balls and deep fry it. They're going to make you eat it.
That's some good Hush.
Okay, that's kind of funny. But
I mean, that is a good point, Mike, that you made earlier in that, as an adult, many people, not all, but many people, your reading habits, unless there's something like a vacation, is not much different from your reading habits throughout the year. Exception to that, a big exception to that, for those who are educators, many times that is an opportunity. I mean, whether it be, elementary school, high school, higher education, more times than not, you have the summer off. So that's a time to catch up with whatever, whether it be reading or gardening, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
I think it was summer. My wife's an art teacher for high school, and I think one summer I made her read Why the Last Man, like the entire series of it.
That's a great book.
And she's not a comic book reader per se, but she read the whole thing, and I was like, "What'd you think?" She's like, "That's pretty good."
See, that's another good title that would be a great summer read, because
yeah.
if you have enough time that you can sit down and read it, the entire series from beginning to end, that would be very doable, and I think a good way to get that, because we were talking about Saga, but you could say this about any number of ongoing series.
Oh, yeah.
If you read them month by month by month, you can get lost. I mean, obviously
Yes.
it takes longer, but then you can. With me, I forget. Okay, what happened the previous month? Let me go back and
I have
and
that problem
revisit.
too at times. Yeah.
Now, I don't have summers off, go to the beach. I mean, I went to Charlotte, North Carolina a few weeks ago, but that was like mostly work at the same time that I was there because of Heroes Con. But I didn't really take anything down specifically to read with me. But what I'm doing right now, it's something like a summer read. I don't know how far I'll get into it, but I'm going back and rereading all the Fables from beginning to end, in anticipation of the very end, which I guess is late this month, with the very last issue of Fables. So it's been years since I've read that, but that's another summer project, and that actually it's one of my resolutions for this year. I don't believe in resolutions, so I guess it's a non-resolution resolution.
It's anti-resolution.
Well, not anti, because I'm doing it. But I don't believe in a resolution, so within that context, my resolution is to do this. Well, one was to read more manga, in which I'm successfully doing, but the other one is to go back and reread.
You got a podcast for it.
Yeah. And it's for that reason that I'm reading more. But going back and reading all the Fables. Mm-hmm. So that has been fun. That's like a summer reading project.
Yeah. Which I'm curious, because I know you've said you liked Fables before. Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen like The Wolf Among Us, the Telltale game, like point and click adventure?
Yes, I started to play. I got that originally for my iPad, and I started to play it, and it was good. I got to a particular point, and I don't know what I was not doing on my screen. I kept trying, and I'm not inept when it comes to things like this. Mm-hmm. Other things, perhaps. And I kept trying to do whatever it was, some kind of action over and over and over again. And I'd say, I'll figure it out later, and then would pick it up and still couldn't get past that point. I can't even remember where it was. It was fairly early on in the game. And then I just haven't picked it up in a long time. So I'm assuming that you've played.
I played like the first episode because I got it for free off of an app. And usually I'm really impressed with those Telltale games, mm-hmm. but it's hard for me. Like I usually have to wait till it's all completely done and then buy all of them and then just have a time to play through all of them. Mm-hmm. But I mean, there's a lot of like backlog for me because I not only game on like an iPad or phone, but also on console and stuff. So that's why like I have a whole stack of comics from last week I didn't read because I was playing the Batman game that came out. So I don't know. It's hard to
still playing that myself.
Yeah, you have to pick and choose like what you're going to do with your time. You know?
And the new Batman game is
Batman
Arkham Knight.
Arkham Knight.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is a lot of fun.
Really good.
Yeah, it really is.
I can't remember. One of my kids was talking about getting that. I think it was my daughter. She had mentioned that. I mean, because both of my kids are big gamers, and they have played the previous Batman games, but we don't have that one as of yet.
No.
100%ed it last night. It was amazing.
Did you?
Yeah.
Nice.
Even all the Riddler trophies and everything.
I've been away from it because I was at Comic-Con, so I got a long way to go.
So instead of summer reading, you're summer gaming.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned The Wolf Among Us. Have you been reading that title?
I have not. You know, Fables was something I have the first issue. I found it at like an antique place because every once in a while I like to go to like antique stores and stuff and look for comics.
You found the very first issue?
Mm-hmm. Like with the subway door, it might have been like a reprint, but you know where it's like the subway that's going.
Oh, was it the
across?
first trade?
No, it's just like a issue, just one issue by itself.
Oh, okay. There were two covers, or at least two different covers on the first, like the first printing and then the second. But then they had a reprint of the first issue later on. I was going to say the very first issue is going to be worth something.
Yeah.
That one I think is a reprint.
I'm pretty sure it is.
And one of the subway doors sounds like the image that they have on the front of the first trade.
Right. That's the one I'm talking about, which I think it is a reprint. But I read through that one, and I was like, this is awesome. Mm-hmm. But to get all the Fables, it's kind of like I started reading Invincible. And I made it through like the first like collection of it, and I mean, there's so much to it. It's such a commitment to buy all of that just to like read through, and I would love to.
But despite all that, if you guys want some summer reading, read Invincible. It's really, really good.
So you're the stand-in for Laura this?
Yes.
Because it's like whenever she's here, she always brings up.
I haven't gotten as far as Invincible as she has.
Yeah.
I'm catching up.
Well, Invincible always catches me off guard. It's so stereotypical superhero, but at the same time, it's not.
Exactly.
And that's what like I'm like, this is awesome. This is everything I want out of a superhero book and more.
Oh, that reminds me. Do either of you listen to Mark Maron's WTF podcast?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because on Monday's show, his shows come out Monday and Thursday of every. So the last one, as we're recording this, was actually a comics-themed show. He had two guests on that actually he recorded interviews at two different times. The first and the shorter, and I wish this were the longer because I really like him, but the shorter one was with Bob Fingerman of Minimum Wage fame.
Right.
So he talked with him briefly, but then the much longer part of the conversation, the vast majority of that episode, was a conversation with Robert Kirkman.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's cool.
And so, yeah, he talked a lot. He talked a little bit about Invincible, Walking Dead, obviously, how he got started. So, I mean, that was a really interesting conversation.
I bet that would have been very
interesting. There's some guys out there, like, writing-wise, that are just, like, killing it. You know, you can't seem to get away from them. Like, Mark Miller's one of them. Scott Snyder's everywhere. Robert Kirkman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're kind of the mainstream guys that you just see everywhere. And it seems like Mark Miller writes like a comic. He'll write a page and there's a movie studio like, I'll buy that.
That's the truth.
And he's like, well, I was going to crumple and throw it away, but all right, it's a movie now, like, you know.
I'll take your money.
Right.
Yeah. That's the truth, though. At least it seems like that. Everything he writes, like, I'll buy the movie rights right now.
It's like that Family Guy joke with like Steven Spielberg in The Office, and he's like, they get attacked by a killer lamp. Like, you're really out of ideas, aren't you? I have it on my desk by Monday. Whatever.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Miller and movies, did you guys read that miniseries MPH?
Yes.
From last year?
Yes.
No, I did not.
I thought it was really good.
That one I really liked. I wonder, was very
Mark
Millar.
Yeah, I wonder if that one has been optioned for some kind of.
Well, I know Chrononauts was purchased by somebody.
Yeah.
And it was only after I'd read like the first issue. They were like, yeah, they bought it, movie rights to it already. And I'm like, there's only one issue to it.
Yeah.
You're kidding me.
Well, just because a studio or a company buys movie rights doesn't mean they're going to make anything out of it.
Oh, yeah, like Why the Last Man has been purchased forever.
They get it and then
they just wanted to hold on to it, and then they'll figure out later what to do with it.
It's like I get upset every time I think about there's somebody out there, I think it's New Line Cinema, owns the rights to the Runaways. And they've never done anything with it. And I would love a Runaways movie. Mm-hmm. It would be awesome. Let me be the director. I'd make a killer Runaways movie.
Just let me be the writer. Just let me be part of it. That's all.
Getting back to the topic of summer reading, now, someone who joins us often on our own location shows, Matthew Cusio, wrote to say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be here, but he wanted to share some of his summer reading expectations. He says, if you wanted to mention it, I'll be looking forward to finish reading Harrow County, Edward Scissorhands, and the multiple Spider-Man spin-off titles during Secret Wars. I'm also looking forward to picking up Power Up by Cat Leff in the coming weeks.
Oh, nice. Those are good choices.
Yeah. And also he has some... He says, if Shay is there this week, I have a few titles he may be interested in for manga reading. But since Shay's not here, I won't go into that. So those are some titles that he's expecting to finish up.
The Spider-Man titles, I mean, even for Secret Wars, but even post-Secret Wars, the Spider-Man titles sound really, really fun, really, really interesting. So I approve of his Spider-Man choices.
Oh, yeah, Secret Wars has been awesome. So,
yeah.
I only plan on getting certain books, but it seems like every time I come in on Wednesday, I buy like every title that's in Secret Wars just because I can't help myself.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys have been reading the Secret Wars?
Yes.
The main,
yeah,
and then the side titles. So, I mean, I'm completely alien to this. I've just heard about it, and not just because it's Marvel or DC, but usually when it comes to big events like this, what I usually do is I pull back, wait for the dust to settle, and then when I get the time, something like maybe summer reading, I'll sit down and read all of it. I did that with Civil War. I did that with Fear Itself.
And you mentioned that you did that with Batman Nightfall. And,
I did that with Nightfall, yeah. In fact, Nightfall was one of the beach summer reading projects
I
had. Yeah. So I've just been hearing about Secret War. I'm not the biggest Marvel guy, so I probably wouldn't have gravitated toward that anyhow. But how's it been going?
It's been going really cool. I kind of think it's like the main storyline, at least, and is a lot like Game of Thrones.
That's a good.
Everybody's getting killed, you mean?
Yeah, actually. But at the same time, I mean, you have all these different lands. They all have their own different barons. They're all kind of vying for this, like, throne of power, which, Doctor Doom is sitting on.
Yeah.
It's very medieval in some sections. You have, like, the wall where it keeps, like, the battle world separate from, like, things like the Marvel zombies and the Ultron, robots and stuff like that. And there's the people that sit on the wall. You have the Thors that police everybody. You know what I mean? It's very, like, it's Game of Thrones, but with superheroes.
Yeah, it's very Game of Thrones. I like that. Just I don't think I could explain it anything better. But it is a lot of people that, Doctor Doom rules this entire battle world, and they all want his power. They all want to be Doom.
Which speaking of which, you weren't here for me to talk to you with, Craig, and I was very excited about it. And spoilers, of course, but one of the characters that I have a huge problem with, that I hate seeing every time in comics, and I used to have an argument with a guy every time I go to work. He was saying that Cyclops was a better character than Wolverine, and I hate Cyclops so much. And when Dr. Doom snapped his neck, and that last issue, I got, like, excited. Like, yeah, no more Cyclops.
I have to admit, Cyclops, even though I'm a huge X-Men fan, and Cyclops was always my favorite character to kind of not like. But I did go... He deserved it.
Yeah. I just hate how they're trying to make him this rebel bad guy. Like, oh, he's a new Magneto. No, he's Cyclops. He's a Boy Scout.
That part
Get him
I
out
don't
of
like
here.
because he's like 180 degrees from where he started from, because he is acting more like Magneto now, and that kind of upsets me because I don't see that as Cyclops. I see him more as he wants to be the perfect Professor Xavier.
Right.
And,
well, it's the same thing too. Like, I have a problem with, like, their costumes. Some of the X-Men costumes, it's like they got to put X's on them. Like, he's got this giant X on his forehead. All right, I get it. You're an X-Men.
The whole Cyclops thing. And, I mean, that's basically the result of AVX, right? Now,
Yes.
I did read that again.
Yes.
Actually, that was one that I was reading in the middle of the event. So that was one of those few that...
Well, he was kind of rebel before that event, though, but he really became criminal after.
Darker,
Yeah.
Yes,
Exactly.
that's exactly. Yeah, he really became he decided he was. Well, he never said he was going to be Magneto, but that's kind of where it feels like to me that he's trying to be.
Yeah, and in fact, see, if I read anything in the Marvel universe, chances are it's going to be either X-Men related or Spider-Man related. It used to be Captain America when Brubaker was on it.
Oh, well.
So, to me,
can understand that. Brubaker made an awesome run on Captain America.
Right, that was primo.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I was really impressed with coming out of AVX is the direction they were taking the X-Men, Cyclops and otherwise. And I think that was the only title. The X-Men titles were the only ones that I started to pick up for a while on a regular basis with the new Marvel Now.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Mm-hmm. I did,
because
those were good books.
Of what they were doing.
They really were. I mean, Bendis' run on the X-Men was, and that was Cyclops' team, was really good. It really was. Even though I was kind of, frustrated in the direction that Cyclops was going, I couldn't stop reading it because they were really good.
Yeah, it was kind of neat to see the two different schools.
Yeah.
Like you had Utopia, and then you had the Jean Grey.
Yeah, the
Jean
for Wolverine and the X-Men, which was another really good title.
Right. You had Wolverine, you had Storm on that side. Yeah. And then you have the Avengers Unity team, which is all kind of mutant based too. We have Havoc and Rogue and that kind of Avengers team trying to bridge the gap. So there's cool things going on with X-Men.
Yeah. And in the future, having gone to the San Diego Comic-Con and listened to what their plans for the future of the X-Men and Inhumans, I'm on board. I'm really interested to see how they're going to do all this.
Okay, so what kind of news did you hear?
So most of you guys probably already heard it if you've been on the interwebs or anything like this.
Interwebs at work.
The interwebs, those vacuum tubes. But... So after Secret Wars, they wouldn't actually pitch exactly what's going to happen for Secret because it's still going on. But after Secret Wars, bad stuff is happening for both the mutants and the Inhumans. And in fact, the Inhumans and the mutants are going to start teaming up on a lot of books. So Uncanny Inhumans, you're going to have some of the X-Men characters with the Inhumans and all that type of stuff. And so a lot of the... there's going to be some really interesting things going on with the Inhumans and the mutants because they're going in two different directions. I don't know how much of your listeners are all, if they're reading Inhumans. The Inhumans are growing in population.
Oh yeah.
Because there's the big Inhuman gas mist went all over the world, and they're actually increasing in population, where the mutants are decreasing in population. And so now. It's going to be an interesting conflict between the Inhumans and the mutants on how are they going to be able to work together because they're two different opposite sides on evolution, so to speak.
I definitely see them as kind of that's two people kind of teams or whatever in Marvel that makes sense to get together because they're very, very similar. The only thing is the Inhuman society is kind of like that perfect world that mutants kind of want.
Yes.
Where it's everybody has powers. We show you how to use it when you're 16, and it's kind of.
And that was one of the interesting panels on that because they explained the difference between how Inhumans take on superpowers and the mutants. The mutants just you pop up, you're a mutant, you got superpowers, and everything goes bad. Or the Inhumans, they prepare you for, you choose whether or not you want to be Inhuman until recently. And they prepare you, they take over, they help you with your superpowers and all of that. And they said that's what's really going to be interesting on how the humans and the mutants are how they handle people with superpowers. And so there's some really good stuff with coming out for both Inhumans and the X-Men, or at least I'm excited about it. Which I kind of went in there kind of depressed because I always think they're going to cancel the X-Men, but they swore to me that they're not. So.
It's kind of interesting when you think about it. Back in the 90s, X-Men was kind of the face of Marvel, and they've kind of taken a back seat to that.
Yeah, because now it's all Avengers.
Yeah.
I remember those days where all the Marvel books were all X-Men, and the Avengers were kind of the backstory of stuff like that until fairly recently, thanks to movies and other things, that it's completely turned.
Does that ever bother you when you think about it? When I was in high school, the thing, I'm still the same person, I still like the same things, but when I was in high school, the things that I liked were not very cool.
Yeah.
Now, it's I was born too early, If I just been born in this generation, I'd be a whole lot cooler in high school.
Yep. Yeah, I think that all the time. So that was an interesting panel, and they also talked about the direction of the Avengers, and a lot of admittedly it's going to be all Avenger books all the time. So, but there's some cool stuff. If you're a Miss Marvel fan, she's going to join the Avengers, and she's going to still have her own book. And which
the thing about Marvel, and I've joked about this before, who isn't an Avenger? Even X-Men are Avengers. So I mean, so saying that they're going all Avenger isn't that the same thing as saying all Marvel is going Marvel?
Pretty much, yeah. And that's. And one thinking of that, and I do see what you're saying, though, but one thing I like is the fact that the Avengers can change at any time, that you can have different characters pop up all the time, and that's when I was younger and didn't have a lot of money, I mean, that's why I was an X-Men fan, was I didn't have a lot of money when I was young, so I had to pick and choose, and the X-Men had the most characters for the buck. And you never knew who was going to be leading that title from month to month. And
see, I like something a little more contained, and I guess that's one of the reasons why I always would tend to prefer the Justice League over the Avengers.
I don't know.
But then again, I grew up as more of a DC guy than a Marvel guy, which is the opposite of friends that I grew up with and most people that I've met.
I was a Marvel fanboy and just recently got more into DC.
So. There's different, I mean, they're both very different. Like, DC is very, like, pantheon of gods, you know, and Marvel's more like, oh, look, here's a superhero, and he has the same kind of social problems that I do. Like, you know, Tony Stark's a drunk, too. Right on.
Well, I mean, you know, that's basically what put Marvel on the map, beginning in the early 1960s.
Yeah, exactly.
They made their superheroes human.
Which is cool. I dig that. I like seeing, you know, somebody with superpowers struggling. You know, it's cool.
Yeah.
To me.
I like it too, but I've got a lot more appreciation for DC now. And
see, you know, my experience with DC growing up, I mean, I did read Superman titles, in fact, primarily Superman, but also some Batman. But most of what I read from DC was not superhero related at all. I read a lot of the mystery titles like Ghost, House of Secrets, House of Mystery.
I remember those titles.
Weird War Tales. I read war comics, and in fact, I loved Weird War Tales because it brought together war comics. I loved Sergeant Rock. And it brought, you know, along with that horror, like House of Mystery, right? Yeah. So I loved that. That was one of my favorite titles. So those are the kind of things that I would always read, those DC titles, and then other, let's say, non-superhero genre titles, even some of their comedy titles, like Plop.
Oh, I forgot about
Plop. Was one of my favorites growing up.
I have a couple issues of those. They were kind of funny. It was weird, but it was funny.
But you know that in Secret Wars you should try this Where the Monsters Dwell. It's actually Garth Ennis is writing it, and it's very Garth Ennis.
It is very Garth, yes.
So explicit?
Oh,
yes, very much so.
Oh, yeah. But it's kind of fun because it's like...
I don't think it's quite as bad as like The Boys or anything.
No.
I mean...
No, nothing can be bad.
I love The Boys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, The Boys is really good. I've never seen anything make fun of comics so hard.
Yeah.
Like, you're just reading it, and you're like, yeah, that's supposed to be Batman. You're like, yeah, that's supposed to be the X-Men. It's like Professor X is like a pedophile, and like... Batman's got like this thing where he's got to like hump everything he sees or something, you know.
Yeah. Don't know if I could recommend you guys for that one for summer reading, but if you enjoy this extremely over the top violence and sexual innuendos, that one can be a fun one. And it's
even more over the top in terms of taking superheroes to task is Enos's The Pro.
Oh my, yes.
I don't know if you've read that one.
I have read. I've read a few of that one. That one
because Amanda Conner did the art. Beautiful. Well, everything she does is beautiful.
It's amazing. But that one, guys. That one's buyer beware.
But it's a fun story. It really is.
Fun.
You're talking about getting explicit. That's more explicit than The Boys.
That's basically just to give you an idea. It's a hooker gets superpowers, and and you could just take it from there. So.
My favorite scene in The Pro, because we've already gone blue on this episode, so I'll have to put an explicit title tag on it, is when The Pro, and that's her superhero name, right?
Yeah.
When at one point, and I can't remember the character who's like Superman, but you know the all-powerful one.
Yeah.
But she is going down on him, and he tells her at the last moment, you better steer clear, so to speak. He doesn't put it that way. And then, you know, she wonders why he just says, trust me. And then when he releases himself, it ends up bringing down an airplane. So, again, I mean, just very, very over the top.
Yeah, it's extreme. It was one of those titles I'm like, this is really funny, but I don't know if I can continue on very long with this one.
Well, that was just a contained, relatively short book.
That's kind of cool, Somebody suggested I read Chew. I read like an issue.
That's another summer reading chore.
Yeah.
So you just think it's all right?
I just thought it was all right. I mean, the one thing that burned me off of it was the art. I think the art looks like garbage.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I hate it.
You don't like Hillary's art? Oh.
No.
I like it.
Like the girl that's supposed to be like the love interest, and she's like, she's hideous looking. Like, I'm like, really? This is like... I guess everybody's hideous looking in that book, though, to tell you the truth. So
right, but that's Guillory's style. So, it may not be for everyone, and if you're used to something that is maybe a little more realistic, or maybe a better way of putting that is less cartoony, and iconic, then it might not be for you. But I think it's a great story. It's a wonderful premise.
No, that's like the writing is very cool. I enjoyed kind of the story, like the guy's like kind of where he eats and. That's how he gets his psychic visions. That's kind of neat. Except for, what was it, like peas or...
Yeah, there was only one
beets?
thing he could eat. What
beets.
Was the, yeah,
beets. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. It was beets. And I thought that was kind of interesting and like the weird... there's like food laws or something like that where you can't eat certain foods.
Well, chicken is outlawed. I mean, that's the very premise of this because in this world because of avian flu.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, which, I thought the whole book was very clever. I just, it's hard for me sometimes when I look at, like, certain art, I'm just like, I can't get past that. And that's such a huge part of comics for me is the artwork. That's
I can understand that.
One of the reasons why I love Saga so much is the art is just beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you have those big sprawling, like, whole page, like, you turn it and there's, like, this big, like, fire, big planet, or there was that one where, like, the planet was an egg and it was, like, cracking open and it was, like, a baby on the inside. That was, like, incredible looking.
On the topic of the art, has anyone read Archie #1? Because Fiona Staple does.
Unfortunately, again, I was in Comic-Con, so I'm a little bit behind on that one. So
I saw it on your stack there.
Yeah, I do have it, so I'm looking forward to reading it and seeing how that goes on. So I can't really contribute to that one. So
yeah, I didn't pick it up, but I did see that they had the artist here last Wednesday, and he was like drawing covers and stuff for people. And like Freddie got one of like a zombie.
Which artist?
For the cover of Archie.
Which cover? Because for Archie they had like a slew of covers.
I can't remember the guy's name.
Someone local?
I think his name was Jeff. Maybe? I don't know.
Oh, because one local artist who does one of the covers of the new #1 is Joe Eisman.
I think that's who.
Yeah, he was here.
Yeah, that's it.
Unfortunately, I was in an airplane at the time, but yeah.
Well, I apologize to the guy if he listens. I don't know his name, so sorry. But
He's been on the podcast several times.
Yeah, but I mean, I didn't like meet him or talk to him or anything. He was here. I just kind of picked up my comics and kind of left, so it's hard for me to say I experienced that. But I saw like Freddie got one cover, and it was like a zombie Betty and Veronica sharing a brains shake.
That's awesome. That's good. I like that.
What, Joe drew that?
Yeah.
Yeah, just for him. Yeah.
See, awesome. What I would do is I would probably ask Joe if he could draw something a little more explicit between Betty and Veronica.
Oh wow! It's kind of like
that's me.
Yeah.
When the Warriors artist was here, it was Ash Winter. I can't remember the names of the Ashley. It's Ashley something.
Yes, but I'm terrible with names, so I'm the wrong person with that one.
That's like the one thing with comics. Like a lot of people talk about like artists by name and like writers by name. I can't really do that. I can tell you what the character's been through his entire career, but I can't tell you who wrote him. But when they were here, I got them to draw me like a Rocket and Groot with a Scourier on top of him.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool.
It was like an animal totem.
Yeah. We were talking about Archie. I see someone standing in line getting a copy of Archie #1. So there
nice.
You go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's fun to update that guy.
No. I'm interested to see how it goes.
And that's one we may next week speak about, or we may discuss on the podcast. I'm not sure yet. We're still trying to finalize. I've got an interesting new Archie story, and this actually takes me back to late May at the Dallas Fan Expo. I don't know if you've heard it, but I did a 2-day interview. I think it turned out to be about an hour long with Peter Bagg.
Oh, nice.
And one of the things that he had at his table was the original art for some cover, I don't know which cover, of an Archie issue. And it harkens back to the very first appearance of Archie in Pep.
Oh, wow.
The old comic. And it had him, because in the very first issue, I think on the first page, first panel, you see Archie standing, a very different looking Archie than what we're used to, standing on a bicycle seat trying to impress, I don't know if it's Betty or Veronica or just some girl. Okay.
Right.
And so anyway, Peter Bagg drew a version of that in Peter Bagg art, which you probably wouldn't appreciate because it's a little more like Guillory than otherwise. So anyway, so he was telling me about that. I ended up taking his picture with that, and I posted it on our Facebook page, posted it on Twitter, and then I found, and I even put it up in the show notes when I put up my interview with Peter Bagg, and then I contacted the people at Archie Comics about this to let them know that, hey, he was talking about doing an Archie cover, and they go, that's not announced yet. Peter probably shouldn't have been telling you and letting you take his picture, so I took that picture down.
Oh, no. Oh, man.
Yeah. But,
spoiler.
I mean, Alex, he understood. He said, no problem. I just appreciate it if you take it down. I said, okay, sure. So that was my interesting Archie. And I don't even know what issue of Archie, what number of this new series that will be a part of, but I'll probably get that just because I spoke with Bagg.
Nice.
I think I have to clarify. Like I said, I didn't like the art of, Chew, but I do like cartoony art, like some of the different examples, like Scotty Young. Like I like his cartoony.
I can tell because you have Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah. And like I get a lot of the variant covers that have.
He had a Rocket Raccoon. That's what I was referring to as Rocket Raccoon T-shirt. Mike has a Rocket Raccoon T-shirt, and I was pointing at it, and sometimes I forget. Oh, this is an audio podcast, not a visual one.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, the shirt is where my chest is Groot, and Rocket's hanging off of me shooting a gun. So.
I'm going to talk to you later about the Guardians of the Galaxy cartoon show that's going to come up here.
Did you see my my purchase while you were gone? My hot toy?
That was amazing.
Yeah, that thing's awesome.
Okay, so as we're probably should be wrapping up pretty soon, getting back to the topic of summer reading, do you have any planned reading to do this summer? Not necessarily because it's summer, but in the last couple of months of the season?
Other than what's coming out now, or
what do you plan on reading?
I'm planning on finishing up again Inferno, which is if you remember back in the late 80s or 90s, Madeline Pryor taking over the world with a whole bunch of demons, and the X-Men had to save the day. I plan on finishing that up, and maybe. Again, speaking of Saga, always going back and rereading Saga.
Saga's so good. I think I might try and reread The Runaways.
Oh, that'd be a great one.
Because it's been so long since I read it, and I just love that series so much. Like, I can't say enough good things about it. It's so awesome and incredible.
That's another one, guys. If you're looking for something that's superhero-y, but not really, Runaways is a great book to pick up. So if you're
BKVs.
Yes. Yeah,
I just, the way he writes, it's like he throws so much at you within, the first couple issues, but you know who everybody is, you know what their motivations are, you know what I mean? You're not confused by what's going on. You're just, even something so weird as Saga, where Saga's, so out there, but the whole time you're reading it, you're not like, what the hell is going on? You're able to follow.
And it's also great, I know it's a Marvel book, but it doesn't concentrate itself being in the Marvel universe. They're on their own. They do meet other Marvel characters and stuff, but it's mostly about those kids dealing with what they have to deal with, and not so much going, hey, look, here's an issue with Spider-Man.
Right. Well, there's some stuff like after one of the big climaxes in the first kind of series of it, and they're kind of running out exhausted, just defeated some huge villain, you know, and Captain America's on the beach, and he's so stoic, and you're you really feel like these are little kids around this legend of a superhero.
Yeah, so that's another great one for summer reads. Whoever wants to do Runaways, I highly recommend it.
Wow, so that's two BKV summer readings, Saga and then Runaways. I would recommend Ex Machina.
That's one I want to try. I've ever since I read The Runaways, I've been trying to pick up more and more of his stuff. Why the Last Man, I read all that series. I read the Pride of Baghdad just because he wrote it.
Yeah.
Now, for a long time, that was going on Ex Machina the same time as he was writing Why the Last Man.
Really?
So,
but those are Ex Machina, another one, great one. Pick it up, do it, love it.
Very good.
Yeah.
So.
That or anything Alan Moore writes, Alan Moore.
I wouldn't.
Have you read Providence?
Have not.
I've not read Providence yet.
I've read the first issue.
List.
Second one's just not too long ago came out. I need to read that one. Very, very good. I was suspicious of the hype of, this will be the Watchmen of horror. It's like, okay, yeah.
That's kind of what kept me from reading the first issue.
But I read the first issue. In fact, we reviewed it on the show last month, one of last month's shows, and I was very, very impressed.
Is it? Okay. Now I'm going to find that book and read it now.
If the remaining, what is it going to be, 12 issues total, if the remaining 11 issues measure up, even get close to where the first one was, I think we're in for, at worst, almost what the hype is. I hope what the hype is. But we'll see. We'll see.
Another one, if you're into Alan Moore, read From Hell. That will take up your whole summer.
Pretty good, too, yeah.
That's an amazing book.
That's just like the people I think are like the greats are like Neil Gaiman, Alan Moore, Brian K. Vaughan. Like those
Sandman,
are the ones.
summer reading. Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, summer reading. Again, these long. The Boys. Getting back to.
I recommend it. I do. You guys not into it being. It's super over the top on everything. So it's on violence, on sex, on everything. It's a great book, but it's buyer beware on it.
Okay, so there's a lot to talk about in terms of summer reading because there's so many long series that are really good to take in all at once. Okay, now August next month. Anybody have an idea of what the topic should be?
So August.
I'd love to talk about like all the comic book movies coming out. You know what I mean?
We have done that in the past.
Opinions.
We have done that in the past. Talk about comic books and films.
That'd be all right.
We can even include television shows, not just
because we were even talking about that before, like the podcast, and it was just like everything we were kind of talking about. I'm like, man,
and that could be a good subject, especially with I like different opinions on different stuff. Especially, are you more interested in trying to keep it close to the comic book as possible, or are you willing to let it drift away from the comic book? I always find those discussions interesting.
Because I have not seen the latest Avenger movie, so. Because I'm going to be at a loss there.
That's all right. That's still amazing. You still have time.
Yeah. But that's okay. I mean, I don't have to. It's you guys who largely carry the conversation.
But
so that would be.
But if you haven't seen Mad Max yet, that's another one you have to rush out and go see now.
Pretty good, yeah.
So there you go. You get the recommendation of Mad Max, and I think you gave the someone gave the recommendation, if not last month, in the month before last. I think on the On Location show.
Oh yeah. But
I've already got my.
Mad Max. Go out and see it.
Okay, so Craig, Mike, thank you guys for joining us, and I also want to thank Freddie and the gang at Collected Comics and Games in Plano, Texas, located at 3100 Independence Parkway on the corner of Parker and Independence in Plano, Texas. They're good guys. They'll help you find the funny books that are just right for you. And then after you do check out Collected, if you're able to get here, or if you can't get here, get in touch with us and let us know that you can't get to Plano, Texas. You can contact us by going to our website, which is comicsalternative.com, and there you will see on the right-hand side of your browser a tab that says Send Voicemail. Click on that, and from the comfort of your own desktop or mobile device, you can send us a message through the wonders of SpeakPipe. It's very easy to use. Or you can call us the old-fashioned way. Our phone number is 415-3-COMICS. That's 415-326-6427. You can also email us, as many of you do, and we appreciate that. We're two guys at comicsalternative.com. You can contact me directly at Derek at comicsalternative.com. You can also find us on Twitter. We're at the number 2 guys with PhDs, and thank you guys for retweeting our tweets. We very much appreciate that. You can also find us on Facebook, on Tumblr, on Instagram, and on Google+. We also have a YouTube channel, so if you consume the Comics Alternative that way, go there. More power to you. You can subscribe to the podcast through iTunes. You can stream us on Stitcher. You can also find us on TuneIn. And you can find every single one of our episodes, as well as our reviews and comics-related commentary that we post on our blog. And that is at comicsalternative.com. So all the ways of getting in touch with us. And in fact, If you like these on-location shows, get in touch with us and throw some suggestions our way. We already have one possibility for next month, and that is comics and movies and TV. So if you have ideas for future on-location topics, anything you want to throw at the customers and the employees at Collected, get in touch and let us know. So, guys, thanks a lot. I'll see you next month.
Great deal. Good discussion.
Yeah, and rest up from San Diego.
I will, definitely. Trust me.
Drink some coffee.
No.
Yeah, no more from Crystal, though.
Yeah, you and Crystal switch places. With coffee.